WWE SmackDown Live Results, Recap, Reactions June 4, 2019. Thank you. Next, Cageside Seats. We use cookies and other tracking technologies to improve your browsing experience on our site, show personalized content and targeted ads, analyze site traffic, and understand where our audience is coming from. To find out more, by choosing I accept, you consent to our use of cookies and other tracking technologies. I wish there was more to say about this. Goldberg is not a promo, he's a presence. WWE, that's Goldberg sweating his ass off trying to work his way through a promo just to get to the moment. This should have been condensed down to anyway. Undertaker showing up when the lights went out, Goldberg briefly believing he was making an entrance proper and chuckling when he realized that wasn't the case before turning around into an intense stare down. That's really all they needed here. To that end, this was bad because asking Goldberg to speak at all isn't a great idea, but also good because they got around to doing the right thing in the end. Even if, just like on Raw, their timing was off. The way they put together the final promo segment between Dolph Ziggler and Kofi Kingston was, to be nice about it, strange. The idea that he was right, too. Having said that, I love this story. Dolph Ziggler has, but it did for Kingston. He worked his ass off, and the crowd loved him for it. He worked his ass off. It's an even better story when you consider how it works into the meta. Even this is only moment of bliss. I really and truly despise the wild card rule and everything it represents. I just can't squat 24/7 championship. I absolutely adore R-Truth, and the way he makes literally everything work. The fact that they met knock. I enjoy Aleister Black's delivery in these pre-taped promos where he's begging for someone to pick a fight with him by knocking on his door. I just don't quite understand why he doesn't get up and go pick a fight himself. Rewind. Roman Reigns and Shane McMahon had basically the same segment on this show that they had on Raw. McMahon talked to Nightingale. Remember in the Jon Moxley interview where he talked about being deeply depressed having to work in the creatively stifling environment that is WWE, being given scripts with just the worst copy in the world? It's all I could think. Andrade Balor. The interaction they got on this show was the definition of hey, just a reminder, these two are going to wrestle each other in a couple days. This show doesn't ever drag like Raw does, so even during the rough spots it doesn't feel terrible. But it's still like grade C+. Overall, box standard, bland. I thought for sure WWE would try to reignite that hot feud on the main roster, but sadly, I don't think that's going to happen. Then you have Kairi Sane, in my opinion, one of the best babyface wrestlers in the world. Doing nothing. Vanished. What a shame. Mania this year would have been a great time for Asuka/Ember, but sadly Ember was injured post-Rumble and it couldn't happen. Vince isn't following NXT, or else he already done Bayley/Sasha official feud, which is great in NXT, plus they barely do anything with Ember before she's injured, and Ember is Raw Woman at that time. Vince definitely didn't know anything about Asuka/Ember feud in NXT, not to mention Vince planned to let Charlotte win South Dakota Women title from Asuka in 12 days before Mania. They will be in title picture most of the time. If you're ever expecting anyone from Japan to get anywhere with Vince in charge, you're dreaming. This is a man so, and this sucks, because it's obvious that HHH doesn't think this way. He was smart enough, but Vince is never going to let them prosper. In Vince's mind, there's a reason why, once WWE found a way to break Asuka's streak in a way that got Charlotte over, she was fed to Carmella, and is now a part of a team called the Kabuki Warriors with Kairi Sane. Because Vince knows, I hate it, any sane person hates it, but no Japanese person is going to be allowed to get anywhere in WWE with Vince in charge. It took him this long. Of course, it's hardly just Japanese wrestlers with this issue. It's also the same. Vince likes big white dudes who can't move, who cut terrible promos, and who will humiliate themselves for his amusement. It's the same stuff, different day. There's little different. As for the rest of the show, other than the R-Truth segments, subpar at best. This one had 4. Add in Alistair Not gonna lie, I thought several fans were gonna yell, racist, at that moment. Thankfully, it was a well put together match. Carmella also thought the footage of Kofi in Ghana was great. It made him look like it was a strong match, and it was nice to see Alexa healthy and competing again. Plus I'll stop with the talking and let them fight, for fuck's sake. The crowd reaction was a mix of about the comments on Becky being a SmackDown wrestler. She's not. Once she lost the SmackDown title, making her a Raw superstar. She has a Raw title. Is Alexa coming out to insult the quality of the show compared to Raw to almost zero heat? I assume the audience. There was some boo, but most of the crowd didn't give a shit. Exactly. And why would Yep. And it did so on the dark match before South Dakota saw Heavy Machinery defeat the B Team. The dark match after 205 Live saw Bayley defeated Charlotte. What if Ember turns on Carmella after they lost to Mandy and Sonya, then hope Bayley retains against Alexa at Stomping Grounds, then Bayley saves her friend Carmella from assault from Ember and starts feuding? Since most people said face/face feud won't work, it will be more about respect. I want this Mandy, Sonya, and Mickey vs Mella, Ember and Liv. I am not going to watch a bunch of online exclusives to see how storylines are developing, nor should I have to. SmackDown had, all because it keeps beating Raw, damn it Vince.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park,